Welcome back to Sales TV, the show where we dive into the real world challenges and strategies that drive success in B2B sales. Today, we're tackling a crucial topic: resilience in sales. In an environment where rejection, pressure, and uncertainty are daily battles, resilience isn't a nice to have, it's a necessity. Joining me today is someone who knows all about this: a seasoned coach, best-selling author, and 20 years experience as a commercial leader. He is helping professionals navigate stress, overcome imposter syndrome, and build the mental toughness needed to thrive. We'll explore how emotional intelligence plays a role in resilience and how sales professionals can strengthen their mindset to stay on top of their game. Volker, it's great to have you here. You've had such a diverse career, leading teams, coaching executives, writing books about success and productivity. But before we dive into today's topic, can you share a little bit about yourself, your journey, and why resilience is such a core focus for you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me, Alex. So I was just thinking this morning when we first met, so sounds a bit like a romance here. But
Yeah. Was it? And the first topic we discussed was dashings and tattoos, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so in Holborn, in a pub. So nowadays we might meet somewhere else. But yeah, it's great. It's been 3 years now, 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
Just as we came out of lockdown. So resilience. Let's talk a bit about resilience, or why I'm so interested in that topic. So I've been coaching for many years. I've had a commercial career of 20 years, leading sales teams. Done the groundwork myself, moving through the ranks, and sales in particular is a constant, as you know, right? As probably most people listening know, it's a constant up and down, right? It's a constant management of, where do I put my energy, letting go of things, moving forward, building yourself up, overcoming limiting beliefs, not talking yourself down. So it has been a constant struggle, if I say for myself, for most salespeople. On top of that, I was lucky enough, or not lucky enough, to work in an industry that, if I say, gone through a lot of mergers and acquisitions at the time I was there, which meant I took 7 redundancies in my career. So usually, without offense to my American friends, but it was American companies buying British, European companies. And then after years, they did the whole restructure. They let everyone go. They rebuilt the company or amalgamated it, which I get from a business perspective. And I think without great resilience, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about sales. I would have gone off and done something different, which I kind of have, because I now coach sales leaders. So do a lot of sales leadership coaching, sales coaching, executive coaching, and helping people to, if I say, navigate the game of sales and, the mindset of sales.
Yeah, it really is a game at times. And
it is.
I think partly it's healthy to see it as a game that you play, new tactics and strategies in the hope that you win. But for many, it doesn't feel like a game. And they're stuck in the cycle of high levels of stress, struggling with poor mental health, depending on which research you read.
I mean, sorry. In terms of mental health, I think that's something totally overlooked in terms of salespeople, right? I mean, we talk so much about mental health and mental health in the workplace. And as you know, I'm a mindfulness practitioner, so I have been meditating for 20 years, which probably helped me build this self-awareness and the resilience. If I say properly, it did help me. I'm also teaching mindfulness. But I remember when I got qualified as a mindfulness trainer, which was just before the pandemic, 2019, taking it to companies was like, well, that's fluffy, right? We don't really like that.
Yeah.
I since added a therapy degree to my remit, and to work with people, if I say, much deeper, right? But I think, and obviously I'm biased in terms of that, but I think every salesperson should have access to a therapist and a sales coach. One, if I say, to really navigate the mental health issues and the mental health fallout almost from the sales ups and downs, because you're naturally prone to that, right? And then a coach, obviously, to increase the performance, and yeah, let's call it the game of sales. I like that. I go with that this morning.
Let's, if you don't mind, let's jump around a little bit, because I just want to touch on that topic of mental health, because I do feel it's still a taboo topic in many companies, or at least perhaps not taboo, but they're not leaning into it and taking it quite as seriously as they could, for various reasons. And wellness days and days off don't really cut it, I think. No. It needs to be deeper. I personally believe everyone should have someone like Volker as employed or trained to be there to help salespeople navigate a way forward.
I naturally would agree, of course, right? But I think you're right, because the problem, I don't know if there's a word for it, right? Call it greenwashing, maybe. I don't know. Greenwashing is more about the environmental impact, but whatever washing it is, right? But we have these wellness days, we're getting people in to give massages or whatever the case might be, and we go like, oh, this is for well-being, right? But what really helps our mental health? That's a big question. And in my opinion, it comes down a lot to the culture of the organization, right? And the tick box exercise to have a yoga session once a week, or maybe even a mindfulness session, is kind of like, we've done something, right? It's like a little bit diversity and inclusion, or we hired someone from a different background, right? We do a tick box. And then if we look to, now we mentioned America twice already, but in America, diversity and inclusion is just disappearing because we think we don't need it. And I'm like, this is a step back.
Yeah.
So I would argue for, almost having like an in-house counselor, as you would have an in-house coach for most companies. So someone who comes in, and a friend of mine does it very successfully, as a counselor. He sits in there, virtually or in real life, in a company, and people can come in and confidentially have a chat. And that's something most companies don't do yet. But I would think it's coming. I mean, I had a great discussion last week with someone, and if I say when I was in my heydays of sales, right, no one talked about therapy. The word therapy for me only became a thing, if I say, last maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe probably because of COVID. People, normalized, the word therapist. When I grew up, when I went through my first sales jobs, right, working on proposals until 3 o'clock in the morning, or, whatever we did, right?
Yeah.
Mental health, no one cared, right? You're tough, right? You pull through, right? But it's not good, and it's people.
It definitely feels like the world we live in is changing for the better in that respect. You've only got to look at health generally, and the fact that most of the health system has been looking at fixing you when you're broken, as opposed to helping to prevent. We were talking about nutrition before we went we went live, but I think the same is true for therapy, and let's not wait until you need therapy. Let's ensure that we're taking preventative measures in the professional workplace. Look, you've worked with so many professionals that I'm sure are facing burnout and stress, and the burnout can often creep up on people without them really knowing until it's too late. What are some of the biggest patterns that you see in salespeople that are perhaps struggling with resilience?
It's a good question. I don't think there is a pattern as such, right? So I'm working with a VP at the moment, which obviously I can't name him, but and he might be listening, so I have to be careful what I say. So, But it's what you often see is overworking, right? Being really involved in the actual sales process, being emotional involved in the process, right? Not being able to let go of, if I say, the numbers, the figures. So it's essentially the pressure of having to perform, right? And whether you're a sales leader or an individual, you measure your own self-worth based on the performance at your job, right? And I think a lot of salespeople do that. That they say, I don't hit the target, if I don't achieve, I don't know, a 10, 20, 30% growth year on year, I am not good enough, right? So then the company, maybe the product, maybe the market condition. But it's a fine line then for a salesperson to go like, I cannot achieve my targets because the market conditions, because I don't have the support, because the product isn't ready. Because then we're looking for excuses. Right?
So, you just reminded me. One of the things that I used to do, I think this might be beneficial to our listeners. One of the things that I used to do when, I wasn't hitting the KPIs, whether it's a pipeline number that's often picked out of the air, or a revenue number that, depending on which company you're at, it's often picked out of the air, as opposed to scientifically looked at based on territory size, opportunity generation rate, average order value, etc. One of the things that I used to do was have my own measures that were kind of lead measures that I was going in the right direction. And I would often use those to defend my position with my boss, to say, I'm on the right track. You might not realize it. You're giving me all of this negative pressure, which isn't helpful, but let me tell you, I'm on the right track. It would make me feel good that I was going in the right direction. I think every salesperson should have those measures so they can defend their own position. What do you think?
I think every manager should have those measures, right? Because if you, there's another person I worked with recently. He now left the company, funny enough. And again, the HQ decided this year we're not going to pay out any bonuses because the company, needs to save a little bit, right? I don't know if they wanted to go public, but they wanted to increase their numbers, basically. So no bonuses. So in order to avoid bonuses, they ranked everyone down in the performance review. So so the person I was working with, he was an overperformer. He was ranked, whatever ranking they had, right? I don't know, ABC ranking. He was ranked really low. So he wouldn't get his bonus. Totally demotivates him, of course, right? And he just decided to leave. Whilst his boss tried to obviously keep him, right? And what you just described, I think, is such an important thing to do as a boss. And that's where we're coming to emotional intelligence, right? When you're working with the individual, being an authentic leader and say, listen, we can't achieve, I don't know, the million target, right? But you are on the right tracks. What you're doing is the right thing. And I can send that to the top by, going through with you on the pipeline. And I try to get the most out of you, because it will affect your manager's, if I say, performance as well, right? So if you don't hit your targets, he won't hit his target, their target. And then ultimately the company won't. And I have an excellent boss like that. We, many, many years ago now, 10 years ago, unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but he was human, right? So we were sitting down and going, and the reason I say human, by the way, there's a great discussion I'm just taking part in on LinkedIn at the moment about authentic and being human at work and just being. So if you follow me, have a look what I comment on. But this authentic leadership, this, going in and saying, listen, Volker, we do the best we can, right? How can we move forward? You're doing okay, rather than, oh, you're not doing okay, you're not hitting the numbers, the pressure is on, and so on. And I used to have a boss like that as well. And I told him, quite frankly, to fuck off. I remember he called me like at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, sorry, apologies. Am I allowed to swear on here?
I guess so. I'm not going to stop you.
He called me up at 7:30 in the morning, trying to tell me, how I had to do my forecast. And I'm like, you know what? You can F off. It's just, it's not going to happen.
I guess that works as long as the the manager is assertive enough to tell them when they're doing the wrong things and help coach them through, or direct them depending on their level, to do the right things. Now, you mentioned in the opening you've been through 7 takeovers or acquisitions. You must have seen some quite a bit of change in your time. Can you share a moment from your own career where resilience played a key role in your success?
I mean, in terms of sales, there are several examples, but in terms of sales, when you have a deal, you're working on for, 6 months, 12 months, right? Enterprise size deal. And you think you ticked all the boxes, right? You done the background check, the proposal's out there, the pricing is all right, the internal buyer is okay, right? Procurement signed it off, so you're on this winning streak, right? You're ready. You're just waiting for the signature.
Yeah.
And ghosting is, I think ghosting becomes more and more popular. I have clients, sales clients that ghost me, and I'm like, just tell me, you don't have budget. Come up with an excuse, but don't ghost people. I think that's rude.
Yeah.
Anyway, wrong tangent. But then, the client started to ghost me, right? Not getting back to me. And I'm like, you have a gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
Something's wrong with that deal. And eventually I think they had a budget cut or whatever it was. So, that deal of several hundred thousands, didn't come through, and what are you going to do? Right. You can sit there and, if I say, cry and, beat yourself up and get annoyed. But the problem is there was no way you could have, predicted that, through the process. There was no warning sign whatsoever. So it was, call it unlucky, right? Which is why you try to have more than one of those deals at any one point in time, but they take a lot of time and investment. And then it comes back to resilience, right? Picking yourself up. You might go for a few pints, right? I mean, not that I encourage anyone to drink, but you reset yourself, right? You go like, okay, draw a line under it, but let's move forward, right? The next deal will work better. Reflect on it, right? What worked well? What are the shortfalls? Talk with your boss, talk with your colleague, go through it and go like, okay, did we miss anything? Was there a warning sign I didn't spot, my boss didn't spot, right? Talk to the clients. You'd be surprised how often the client, especially the main contact, might actually help you as well to go through it and say, you know what, Volker, nothing to do with you. There were budgets cut, new boss over in HQ, right? And they just put everything on hold. And you could be the best salesperson in the world. There's nothing you can do, right? You can just hope that you have a really good relationship with the main buyer and decision maker. That person goes to the next, company and gets you in straight away. But But these are the moments you need to be resilient to pick yourself up, because if you can't, don't work in sales. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's dig into resilience a little bit, and understanding resilience. How would you define resilience in the context of B2B sales?
So resilience, and I wrote that definition down, is to be able to adapt, recover, and then face, adversity, right? Face rejection. So in sales, it's all about facing rejection, right? And it's just be able to move on from that. Not, as I said earlier, right? Don't personalize it. Analyze it, but don't personalize it. Don't think, oh, it was me. It was all my fault, right? As soon as you think that's the case, you might as well pack your bags and go and get a different job. What I said earlier, that there's a detachment of self-worth, right, from the outcome. Your self-worth isn't, some people, with the deal I just described, some people would go lose that deal and go like, oh, I'm shit at sales, I quit sales, this is just not for me. And I've seen people doing that because they couldn't handle it, because their self-worth was associated to that deal. But it's not you.
Yeah, that's an important point, actually. And certainly for me in my own career early on, I didn't have the self-worth. I mean, it was
Yeah.
attached to my performance, my success. And yeah, maybe that helped me become a high performing salesperson, but it didn't help me, be the person that I could be, become the person
Yeah.
I now am today. And I think that's an important, I guess, element of the therapy or the coaching, is to help people identify what's important to them, what makes up their core values and beliefs that they can stand true to when things are good, when things are bad.
100%. I mean, it reminds me of let's say, another example of my career. So that was actually my second ever job. So you don't find it. I think I took it off LinkedIn on my CV. I want to be honest in case anyone's listening, any HR people. But it's essentially, I worked for a telemarketing company, selling conferences. I did really, really well, but after 18 months, I kind of hit the ceiling. And my boss said, we work something out. We want to keep you, and I was young, right? I'm like, Anthony, if you're listening, I'm really sorry. I should have stayed. But anyway, I decided that the grass is greener, right? I can join the startup. I'm selling business information in emerging markets. Little did I know, the person who owns the company, he was quite frankly, is a maniac. So if you listen,
Right.
let's not say that. He hired and fired me 3 times in one morning, like coming, Googling things. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you're shit. And,
I had one of those bosses.
I actually made a mistake. He says, oh, you're hired, you can come back and forth, literally all morning.
Yeah.
And given I was quite young in my career, I'm like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
Right. And it was the same day we were supposed to have lunch, my wife, or now wife, to discuss to move to Dubai with him.
Yeah.
And I walked out of his office, and literally 5 minutes later, as if nothing has happened, he goes like, his PA came through and says, we are now ready for lunch. And I'm like, I'm not. I said, I'm taking the afternoon off.
Yeah.
And I went to the next Nero's. I remember that very vividly on Victoria Street in London. And I sent him a message from my, semi-smartphone, and I resigned. And, because there was no emotional intelligence, right? And I was setback because I was so associated my career with that company, and selling things. And I sold things. I mean, I was best performing salesperson within no time.
Yeah.
And it's this overcoming that and going like, you know what? It was the situation I was put in. I need to get over that, and I need to move on. And I remember my next job, great manager I had, and he was so confident, so outgoing. And like, I want to be back there, I want to be like him again. And it took me a while, to overcome that. And it's able to overcome this adversity. And, if I say just move on, and let go, it's not personal.
Yeah. No, it's a great story. It's a great example of you having the emotional intelligence to make the right decision for you and your future wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I heard Arnie in the background. He's saying,
Okay, sorry.
Arnie's first appearance on Sales TV.
There we go. He couldn't resist.
Yeah. So so moving on, we've got maybe 5 minutes left.
Okay.
What are some simple daily habits that sales professionals can implement to strengthen their resilience?
Where do we start? I think reflection is such an important thing. If you're a salesperson or not, a daily journal.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I think so. I journal twice a day. So in every morning I sit down for 10-15 minutes and go, okay, what are the 3 things I want to achieve today? So I can measure myself on, getting the important things done.
Yeah.
Right. So if I get these things done, sending out a proposal. So after this, I have to send out a proposal actually today. Do some sales coaching this afternoon. I need to prepare for a therapy session, right? These are important things.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, sit down and reflect. What went well? What didn't go so well, right? Mm-hmm. Reflection, 5 minutes. I actually do a gratitude journal every day as well to really focus on the positive things, right? because that's how you train your brain, right? So positive sparks, what was good today? And if you had a really shitty day as a salesperson, right? Let's say every person you called, every email you got was negative, rejection, rejection, rejection. Also, you have a roof over your head, you have a toilet, right? You're better than, I think, is it 95% of the population? Maybe that's the wrong fact, right? But the majority of the population don't have that, right? So there's always something to be grateful for. And hopefully it's something like, I had a really good conversation with that customer. I moved this deal along. Just focus on the positive things, right? Don't let yourself be down. And what helps, and I'm not saying everyone should meditate, but have a mindfulness practice. Be in the moment, right? As I say, I've been meditating for over 20 years. I do 20 minutes every morning, right? That's part of my morning routine. The gym every day. I have an hour in the gym every morning just to work out. To stay fit. In our age, we have to stay fit, right? If some younger salespeople listen, it's also about looking good, right? Looking great when you sell. But these things, because they help with self-awareness, they help with emotional regulation as well, right? We haven't even dived into emotional intelligence, but being able to to understand your emotions, understand what's boiling up, right? Whether that is during a sales call, and we all know that as well, right? When the other person tabled something where you go like, oh shit, how do I react with that? To after the sales call, right? In terms of emotional regulation, one of my former colleagues threw a fax machine through an office many moons ago. Obviously, it was a fax machine. I don't think many offices with fax machines left. That shouldn't happen to anyone, right? You should never be in an environment where people throw fax machines or computers, laptops through the office. And if you're in such a sales environment, get out of that, right? Reflect on it, move on. So being able to regulate yourself, I think, is key. And journaling, mindfulness, meditation, if you want to, I think are great. And finding the work-life balance, right? Being able to switch off your laptop. And some people, and I'm lucky enough, I have an office, right? Or half a garage, a box, as I like to call it. Kudos to a friend of mine who has a box up in Manchester. He always called it the box. It's, we are lucky we can close the door at the end of the day. But younger salespeople, they might just be in a flat share in London, right? They work at a kitchen table. Find a routine, whenever 6 o'clock, 6:30, shut down the laptop, go for a walk once around the block, go to the gym, right? And find a work-life balance and go back afresh. Don't think about your work after whatever time you decide, right? If it's 6 or 6:30, whatever. These are some key elements, because you want to have a life, right? Don't make the job your life. I think that's the biggest challenge most salespeople have. Because we want to win. We want to make that money. That's what drives us on. But it doesn't mean we are the product. I'm not my, the boss I just described, right? I'm not like him, right? I'm not the person that wants to work with him, right?
Some great tips. Having the discipline to stick to them, I think, is so important. So we're coming to the end now. Where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about you? If they've heard the show this morning, they want to learn a bit more, what's the best way to get in touch?
The easiest is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn probably all day. So if you search me on LinkedIn, my email, my mobile number is on there. The link to my website, which is Opnatus, so opnat.us. Just you find me anywhere online. It's an easy name to find. I have some information on my website about what I do in terms of leadership coaching and executive coaching and therapy. Just hit me up. I put lots of content out there, so you can't miss me. Thank you.
Some great videos I've seen lately. Volker, it's been great having you on. Thank you for sharing just a small piece of your insight and your experience with us. Hopefully next time we'll be able to dive into emotional intelligence a bit further.
we have hardly scratched the surface on emotional intelligence, and so yeah, there's lots more to talk about. So thank you for having me, Alex.
Yeah, my pleasure. That there's only so much we can get through in half an hour.
Yeah,
Next time. Thank you very much. Thank you to our audience, Rachel. It's lovely to see you as always. Have a great week, everyone. Until next time on Sales TV.